Hi guys, and welcome back to what is this? Our fourth episode. We hope that you got to see the first two episodes and then the last one where we had Amy. Today we're having Kresnicka join us. All three of us are in one frame today, which is super fun. We had lots of close hugs and all the things, right? So we just love her being with us. And for those who came to the event, know that Em led our worship section and just loved on us, ministered to us so deeply of just pouring out her heart, not only in the aspect of worship and in the way she led us and facilitated worship, but also in the way that she helped us. I think we had showed maybe on episode one or two of the booklets that we gave and just how Em like came in. And again, it was just kind of like an aspect of the tech side or the like, what would you say? It's not really tech side. The um,
Well,
what is it?
design,
The design
design.
side that Britt and I were like, yeah, we don't do this.
Yeah.
And so that was super helpful to have her. But Britt, I think you were going to introduce her a little more and just how she got involved with Radiant.
Yeah, well, I will just say how I knew a little bit of Em and like about Em just a little bit through we go to the same church. She leads worship at our church and has always, I'm not just saying this, she's always been my favorite worship leader. And just she
I think
always
the
has
comment was right, like, "Oh, M, the one that smiles all the time."
exactly, that's what
Yes,
it was. Yes.
that
She
M.
smiles as she sings. It's so beautiful. But and then just other little connections through work. Her husband's a physical therapist. I'm a PT. My husband's a PT. So there are some connections there
Yeah.
that we had. And when Em and I knew that we wanted to do this event, we knew we wanted somebody to lead worship. And some of M's really good friends were people who came to mind first because she knows them. And so we're like, sure, that's great. And then they couldn't do it. And I said, okay, well, really feel like the Lord is asking us or telling us to ask Kresnicka. I haven't really had a big conversation with her before, but I'm going to invite her into this thing. And the worst she can do is say no.
Mhm.
So I reached out to her and yeah, you can take it from there. I don't know what your initial thoughts were, but yeah, that's how we kind of brought her in. And I think she also had a lot of encouragement from other friends, your mutual friends, to like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's something that you need to do. But yeah, if you want to tell us a little bit about you and
a little bit
yeah,
about
your
me.
side of that.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't initially, they asked me, and I was like, y'all don't even know. And my good friend, who's their mutual friend, was like, this is that for such a time as this. And that's just like a phrase that has been, I don't know, ping-ponging around like friends and this, even this ministry, like it is time for this, for you to step forward. She's a friend who has like taught me a lot of things about worship leading and writing, and just worship in general in that arena in singing and playing. And so she said, it's time to go. And I asked the Lord. He also confirmed, as well as my husband, and said, all right, I guess we're going to do this. And I frankly felt like entirely unqualified, still kind of do. Um, but it's not unlike the Lord to ask people who are um like weak and lowly to do things for his kingdom. So um yeah, as imperfect as it was so fun to do, to practice, to play, and to sing with these women who were there to like learn more about God and their bodies and how things work, and to live well. So yeah. But outside of that, I am a wife, a mom to two little kids, and run a few businesses. And yeah, it's a literally the ride of my life to do all these things, and I love them. Yeah.
I love that. And I hope it's okay that I share one of the stories. So I had originally asked a friend, and she was on a ski trip that weekend. So then she said, well, why don't you ask another mutual friend? They all do worship at the same church together. And so I was like, okay. So I asked that friend. She's like, I'm also on a ski trip that weekend. I'm like, what is the deal with all these ski trips in January? And they were so sad, but also like, you have to ask Emily Kresnicka. So then Britt's like, I think we should ask my friend. And I'm like, Is her name Emily Kresnicka?
No.
Because this is what we keep hearing.
That's wild.
And so I actually had gotten her information from a mutual friend, but then Britt's like, well, I already have her information, so I will reach out to her. That's probably better, not like the creepy other Emily that's like, hey, you don't know me, but do you want to do this event with us?
And if you say no, then we're still going to keep pressing because we really feel like the Lord wants you there.
Yeah. And at one point we were like, I guess we could do Spotify if we had to, but like live worship is just so different than Spotify. And we had mentioned before with Amy that like part of the time of like her and the prayer part and reflective part, like that was so vital, the way that you and Amy meshed and brought just again facilitated the heart of Jesus into that moment was just so powerful and so beautiful. And a mutual friend, her and I were sitting at a Christmas program, and she was like, do you remember that event that we were both at 4 years prior, almost to the day, at the same venue? And she was like, the Lord spoke to Kresnicka that day about how he was going to allow her to use her worship and to just facilitate healing in people. And I was undone. I was like, oh my word, like how good and kind is he to not only bring that word back 4 years later, but to so kindly your invitation to say, yes, I will join. And the Lord being like, hey, I don't forget the things that I speak to you. And so I think a theme that Amy talked about, that Britt and I've talked about, so I'd love to kind of for you to tease this out, is this kingdom idea of when we plant things, when we say yes to the invitations of the Lord, it goes beyond that moment. Like sometimes you walk away from, I said yes to him and I showed up at this thing. Maybe I didn't feel that different afterward. But then when we watch that, like his promises, if he brings you in and invites you in, and his promises don't end just because the event ended, right? And so Brittany and I felt there were certain people that we like, I mean, we felt so strongly that they needed to be there, not because of us, but because we were like, no, I think the Lord is inviting them in. And we pushed a couple people, like, how do we help you get here? Because we really think this is really valuable and important. And so I would love for you to just speak on that a little bit. Like, where do you see that in your own life, and maybe people who were at the event? Kind of bringing that full circle.
Yeah. Well, I like the event. This is gonna, hopefully this doesn't offend you.
Not at all.
The event itself, like, felt surreal. Like the day that it happened, like there was so much planning and preparation that came like before then, but the day of was not, at least for me, not some like magically like grand thing that happened. Like the Holy Spirit in me was not like like doing some like crazy wild thing that he does sometimes, you know. But after that, like this event is like such a pivotal moment in my life. And I know I've lived like what, 6 months since then, so it's not like it's been crazy a lot. But in the past 5 or 6 months, if I can count correctly, like the Lord has taught me so many things, and even brought friends who like I never in my wildest dreams would I have thought I would have friends like this, or that friends like this were even possible. So I think the promise that the Lord has of what we sow will be reaped. And like, yes, it is true that that will be reaped in heaven. Like we will have that reward in heaven, but seeing that like he wants us to live life to the full now, yes, with him and with one another. Like it's not just vertical, although that is the foundation. It is horizontal too. So even like hearing the Lord speak in new ways to me and my family have been incredible. Praying for and with women, like both over health and life and family, like literally everything that life entails. It's not just like, it is a faith and wellness event, and it's wonderful. and it expands and like overflows into all other areas of life. So I think that's one of the things that I've seen the Lord do in me and my family and the people around me is these seasons where I have felt alone in a lot of things that he's asked me to do, and just been like, all right, we're going to work on this and do this together. And now to do this with other people and see the fruit of it is like mind blowing to me. Just mind blowing.
Yeah.
I think that's just like a beautiful picture of I mean, that's so much more than we even had in mind when we were planning this, but we knew, like we've talked about on the other episodes, that like we wanted community. And in my mind, I thought community for the women coming, which was built. And I love hearing some of the stories and just how God worked through old friendships and new friendships and relationships and what is continuing to like be brought out of that and just these connections that were formed. But just like the blindness that I had, that I didn't think like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have all these new rich friendships out of this. But it's just one example of how the Lord can just use these little steps of faithfulness to then just like blow any expectations we had out of the water, that are, again, just like his thoughts are higher than our thoughts and his ways are higher than our ways. So I love hearing like how that community piece was really like, that was an idea that we had, like we want to bring community, but how he did it was so amazing.
Yeah. And I loved that you said, like you didn't walk away from the event going like, I'm a different person, right? Like you walked away from the event going like, I was obedient.
Yeah.
And I showed up.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that so often, like we say yes to the Lord and then we're like, I don't know what just happened. And then I think that sometimes we're like, I must have heard him wrong.
Yeah.
Versus like, what a beautiful testimony of like, no, I obeyed and I showed up. But now I'm staying expectant because while he may have not done it at the event in a way that my human mind could comprehend, now I'm watching the fact that I showed up has translated into more and more fruit, right? Yeah. And we've talked, I mean, we said, like, I was like, this is probably the most community I've ever had in my life. Like, was that, and just like, I mean, that's why we wanted this event. I'm like, I know how it feels. I know my clients know how it feels. It is lonely and exhausting. And then we showed up and like, God blew our minds, right? And just still continuing to be like, do you see that when seeds are planted, when obedience is walked out, the fruit of that never quite stops.
Yeah. And I do love, I mean, you just touched on it too, but I do love how you said you don't want to like offend us, but really I liked hearing that, like, yes, sometimes God doesn't do work in the way that we think is like, okay, my spirit is going to do a big work. Like, yes, but that looks so different than how our minds can understand. And just because we may not feel radically different within the time doesn't mean that, again, that seeds weren't planted, that he isn't continuing to work. So yes, some people who went, we have heard a lot of feedback. And so, yes, some people who went did feel that. Some people didn't, but there still are things that they are gleaning now, like months afterwards.
Yeah. It's not that God can't do the miracle in the moment.
Right.
He for sure can, and he does.
Yeah.
But when he doesn't, do we still see that like obedience is hearing and responding? Do we still respond to his voice regardless of the like physical thing we may get from it?
Yeah. He is still good in that. Yeah.
It's similar to his word. It doesn't return void, similar to his ways. Like they will reap what they have sown far beyond what we can like even comprehend. And it might not even be about us at all. Like that's the cool part. I'm like, it doesn't need to be about us. It can be about things 100 years down the line that we will never see. Would be cool.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit to Amy about just as she was preparing for this event, like how she went about preparing. And, I know you've done other worship sets at church or maybe other places too. How do you feel like going into this and during the event? Like, how do you feel like it was similar or different to other times that you've led worship?
It was entirely different. Because normally on a Sunday morning there's an entire band. Like I'm not the one playing the keys and singing.
Yeah, so Em was the sole worship leader. She was playing the piano and singing and leading.
And like that was entirely out of my comfort zone, and it was like a moment of trust with the Lord. Like, all right, I think you've asked me to do this. This is the way you've asked me to do that. And this is unlike basically anything I've ever done, except when I'm just fiddling around at home by myself with the Lord. And he was saying, like, that's all I want. Like, there are so many people who will be far better musicians and singers than I am. And like, they have that platform to like like in mainstream music to send that to literally the ends of the earth, basically.
Mhm.
Um, but I think now in this day and age where we have access to all of those things, like people want to meet God more than they want to know some celebrity or hear those words. Not that they're bad, they're beautiful. They're
Mhm.
beautiful songs. But the tenderness of someone sharing their own walk with the Lord as they're singing and worshiping or even talking, like that has far more impact than some big grand song. And I think people crave it because they do have access to so much information and so many beautiful things. Um, but they need the Lord more than anything else. And the Lord requires nothing of us except
Mhm.
to come, like to
Mhm.
hear him and respond. So, um, although very like rudimentary playing and singing, like it was beautiful. And to prepare, like honestly, all I did was sit with the Lord and do it. Like obviously you plan some of the songs and
Mhm.
it was cool the way the Lord put the sets together too. Like there were some songs that Britt and Em had said, like, it would be amazing if we played this. I was like, it's already on the list. Like
Yeah.
the Lord had given that to me already. Um, and then I just played them and sang them over and over until I didn't make as many mistakes on the piano. But yeah, that was basically it. And then getting to send them some of just like the practicing was really
Mhm.
fun. I don't do that very often. So to like bless them. That
Mhm.
sounds so
So she would
Yeah.
like, no, it's so true. She would
Okay.
like, yeah, she would record herself like singing
yeah.
and playing and send it to us. And yeah, we would receive it and just
Mhm.
sit there to receive it, have
Yeah.
her just sing these words over us. And I remember when we first got that, I'm like, I've heard her sing in church before, but to hear that, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be so amazing for
Mhm.
all the reasons that Em said, not
Mhm.
because everybody's going to be looking to Em as like, oh, you're so amazing, but she has a very such a gift of a voice and a presence to be able to point people towards the Lord and to draw
Mhm.
them into that relationship and closer with the Lord, and for it not to be about her, but about what the songs are actually about.
Yeah.
And we had a, like we were talking about the songs, we really wanted to be intentional about the songs. That is not something that we just flippantly did because every lyric matters
Yeah.
and what we say and speak matters. We wanted them to be songs, yeah, not about us, but
Mhm.
about who God is. And like we've been saying all along, to lead people looking to Jesus and to the Lord more.
Mm.
So that did have like a blend of some hymns, some newer songs. I think most people knew most of the songs. There might have been some newer ones, but we had the lyrics in the book that Em helped us create too. So that was really sweet to have, I think, a combination of all of these different types of songs that some might speak to somebody more than another.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
That well, last question,
Okay.
I think,
Yeah.
would be we asked Amy this, like, what were your thoughts? Britt, I think you asked this better, so I'll see if I can remember how you asked it. When you went in with like, here's I'm going in with expectations, here's what actually happened. How would you say the event and just how that meshed?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what I was getting into in the best way. I think if I'm being totally honest, I think I expected that event to be the like incredibly spiritual thing. And it wasn't, which the Lord, I don't understand how the Lord protected me from this. Like, I wasn't upset. Like, I didn't like go off vocally. Like, I wasn't like playing magically. It was very normal. Like, it was an act of obedience. And then, but like not like a punitive obedience, not like you have to obey. It was like, okay, Lord, you asked me to do this, so I'm gonna do it as best as I can and then go from there. So I expected it to be, I expected the event to be some like grand or grandish spiritual thing, and it wasn't, but it was okay. Like I did not stake my identity in that thing, which I normally would. So again, protection from the Lord that feels supernatural as I'm saying it to you right now. And it was like we talked about sowing the seeds of hearing God and responding. And then seeing him reap these friendships and these like things that he's teaching me, that I'm like, you guys, I'm like, do people experience this all the time? Because hearing and responding to God is really cool. Can we make that
Mm.
cool? Uh, and like it's been this gradual, like it feels like accumulation or like compounding of obeying in the little things and responding and saying yes or saying no in obedience. And it literally feels like a compounding effect that's like building and building and building just 5 months in. So I can't even imagine what 5 years is going to be like. Um, so yeah, it's good and an honor to be a part of it too.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here with us today. If you had just like one thing to say to somebody who's like on the fence, like, maybe that sounds cool. Or maybe even as we've been talking, maybe it seems because I can see myself in the shoes, a few years ago being like, that seems maybe too, I might be outside of my comfort zone. That
Yeah.
seems too, I'm not at that spiritual level yet, or that feels a little too far-fetched or weird to me.
Yeah.
But whether it's in somebody in that boat or just like kind of on the fence, do you have anything that you would want to say to anybody who's thinking about coming or feeling that tug, like even just like in your own life, if you
Yeah.
felt that little bit of like, I think that's from the Lord,
Yeah.
what would you say to them?
I would say ask him. Like if you
Mhm.
feel that prompting from the Holy Spirit, ask him. Like it might feel weird and awkward at first to be like, I'm talking with the God of the universe. But isn't that the beauty of relationship with him? So I would say ask him and like sit alone in a quiet spot, close your eyes, like no distractions, maybe way early in the morning or late at night. God, are you asking me to do this?
Mm.
Or like, what do you want me to know about this thing, this event? And he may not say anything at first, but he might be like, yeah, you should go.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and yeah, we don't know God's ways. So
Yeah.
I would just wait for him to give you the yes or no, or wait because that happens too.
Hmm.
And then bring a friend if he says yes, because that's always fun. And, like pray for a friend, like, hey,
Yeah.
Lord, who can I bring with me? Because I'm confident he'll bring someone to mind. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I would say.
Good. I love that. I love the practicality of that. It's perfect. So, well, thank you so much for watching this episode. We're so thankful to have Emily on.
Thanks for having me.
And if you come, you'll get to see her face next time. So we have, I think, possibly one or two, depending on how long they go, episodes left. So please continue to stay tuned for those.